السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد. إخواني في الله, we had finished our lecture series regarding the history of the Muslims of Andalus, Muslim Spain and Portugal. Inshallah, tonight we begin looking at the famous ulama, the famous scholars that came out of Andalus. And there are very many. Inshallah, we shall be looking at people like Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi, Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi, Ibn Abd al-Barr, Ibn Rushd, Imam al-Qurtubi, and so on and so forth. We learn the history of these great scholars that came from the land of Andalus, that land that we lost, and some of us have even forgotten its history. Tonight we're talking about one of the scholars. He was the leader of all the ulama in Andalus in his time. He's called Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi rahimahullah. Yahya ibn Yahya ibn Kathir, from the tribe of Masmuda, hence al-Masmudi, al-Laithi rahimahullah. He was born in the year 152 of the Hijri calendar. This Imam, his grandfather Ibn Kathir, is amongst the people who entered Andalus with Abdurrahman al-Dakhil. You remember Abdurrahman al-Dakhil? Who entered Andalus in which year? The year 138 of the Hijri calendar. So his grandfather was amongst the people who entered Andalus with the Amir Abdurrahman al-Dakhil. Yahya ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he studies in Andalus. Those days people used to memorize the Quran, learn the language, Arabic language, and study the deen with the local scholars. Thereafter, ikhwani fillah, they set out to seek knowledge. Ar-rihlatu fi talab al-ilm. If you study, first you study in your local area, thereafter you go out and seek knowledge from other ulama. So he studied under one of the ulama of Andalus. He's called Ziyad ibn Abdurrahman al-Lakhmi. It's called Shabtun. His other name is Shabtun, Ziyad ibn Abdurrahman al-Lakhmi. So he studies under him the Muwatta of Imam Malik and other books. Then this Imam Ziyad, he sees that Yahya ibn Yahya is an excellent student, and says to him, the scholars that we took knowledge from are still alive. They're not yet dead. Go travel all the way from Andalus, go all the way to Iraq, to Medina, to Egypt, and seek knowledge from these same scholars that we sought knowledge from. So this Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi rahimahullah, he travels all the way from Andalus. There's no car, there's no train, most likely on camel or walking. So all the way from Andalus, crosses the entire North Africa, and he goes, performs Hajj, then he goes to the city of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. And the greatest scholar in Medina at the time, the Imam of Darul Hijrah, is an Imam called Imam Malik ibn Anas. Imam Malik ibn Anas. If you know the four Imams in our deen or in our madhabs, we have Imam Abu Hanifa, who passed away in the year 150 of the Hijri calendar. Imam Malik ibn Anas, who passed away in the year 179 of the Hijri calendar. Imam Shafi'i, Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, then most of us in Kenya follow his madhab, passed away in the year 204 of the Hijri calendar. And you have Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani, rahimahullah, who passed away in the year 241 of the Hijri calendar. These are the four main Imams. So he goes and seeks knowledge under the Imam Malik. That time Imam Malik had a book known as al-Muwatta. Many people had written books with the same name, al-Muwatta. So they had asked Imam Malik, why are you also writing a book called Muwatta? Ibn Abi Dhi'b has done it, so and so has done it. He says, مَا كَانَ لِلَّهِ سَيَبْقَى. Whatever has been done sincerely for the sake of Allah, if I wrote this book al-Muwatta that has authentic compilations of the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if I did it for the sake of Allah, it shall remain. Ikhwani fillah, all the Muwattas that was written have all disappeared except the Muwatta of Imam Malik ibn Anas, the Imam of Darul Hijrah, the Imam of Medina. He passed away in the year 179 of the Hijri calendar. Amongst his famous students of Imam Malik, you have someone like Imam al-Shafi'i. Imam al-Shafi'i is a student of Imam Malik. You have someone called Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Imam Abu Hanifa had two companions, not students. They had reached such a high level until they called companions, Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. This Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani is also a student of Imam Malik and one of the narrators of Al-Muwatta. Are you together? You have someone called Al-Qa'nabi. We spoke about him before. Al-Qa'nabi, Abdullah ibn Maslam Al-Qa'nabi, He used to be a drunkard in the city of Basra. A shameful teenager. One day he sees a scholar of hadith on a donkey, and people are following this scholar of hadith, Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj al-Ataqi, Abu al-Bistam. He asks, who is this person that people are honoring? They say, this is Shu'bah. And he says, وَمَا شُعْبَةٌ? And what is Shu'bah? They tell him, muhaddith min al-muhaddithin. He's a scholar from the scholars of hadith. Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj al-Ataqi. So he goes to this Imam, Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj al-Ataqi, Abu al-Bistam, the Imam, Amir al-Mu'minin fil hadith, and tells him, give me a hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Shu'bah looks at him, drunkard, person who doesn't look worthy of being given this jewel that's hadith of Prophet alayhi salam, and he ignores him. The young man al-Ka'nabi gets very angry. He removes his knife and threatens the Imam Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj, hadithni wa illa. Give me a hadith or I shall stab you. The Imam says, Subhanallah, and narrates the following hadith from Mansur, from Rabi'i ibn Amr, from Abi Mas'ud al-Badri radiyallahu anhu, an Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحْيِ فَاسْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. If you're not shameful, do whatever you want. Al-Ka'nabi, when he had those words, he threw the knife and he went home and he repented. He broke all his alcohol and he went to the city of Medina to study under the Imam Malik ibn Anas. So Imam Malik ibn Anas had many students that are very famous. Another of his students is called Abdurrahman al-Qasim. We shall talk more about him. This man in Egypt, he gets married to a lady. Then he has this passion to go study the deen. And who do you study the deen under the former scholar? Imam Malik in Medina. So he leaves his wife in Egypt and goes to Medina. Perhaps 1 year is going, perhaps 2 years is going, 3 years. He goes for 17 years. He does not go back to his family. 17 years. One day the Hujjaj of Egypt, they come. And they come to the mosque of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ where Imam Malik is teaching. Then a young man comes out of nowhere and asks, Ayn Abdurrahman al-Qasim? Where is Abdurrahman al-Qasim? They say, he's there. He goes and he kisses Abdurrahman al-Qasim. Abdurrahman, he says, Wallahi, immediately he hugged me and kissed me. I knew this was my son. I had left him in the stomach of my wife 17 years ago. Such was the caliber of the students of Imam Malik, and such was his status amongst the ulama and amongst the students of knowledge. So this Imam from Andalus, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi, he goes and studies under the Imam Malik ibn Anas in Medina. He studies the Muwatta. Why does he study the Muwatta? At the time, Ikhwani fillah, Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, he says, ما تحت أديم السماء كتاب أصح من كتاب الموطأ. He says at the time that there's no book more authentic than the book of Imam Malik, the Muwatta. Question, Ikhwani fillah, what is the most authentic book after the book of Allah? Is it Muwatta or is it Sahih Bukhari? Why did Imam Shafi'i say this? Was he wrong when he said that the Muwatta is the most authentic book after the book of Allah? Who knows? Bukhari was not present. He was not even born. Imam Bukhari was born in the year 194 of the Hijri calendar. So his book was not even existing at the time. So at the time of Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, the most authentic book was Al-Muwatta. So Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi goes and he studies this book he had taken from his sheikh in Andalus, and is coming now to study from the source, Imam Malik ibn Anas. Imam Malik ibn Anas has one of the most authentic chain of narrations. He narrates from Nafi' Mawla Abdullah ibn Umar, and Abdullah ibn Umar, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is called the chain of the golden chain when it comes to the narration of the hadith. So his book is very famous and very important. So he studies under him. One day, as he's studying, an elephant appears in the city of Medina. Medina, has no elephants. It's not Africa, it's not Thailand, it's not Myanmar. There's no elephant in Medina. You'll never find in history of Medina those elephants. But that time, maybe, a zookeeper or a merchant lost his elephant, and the elephant found itself in the city of Medina. So all the students, they stood up from the gathering of Imam Malik, and they left and they went to go see the elephant. Except this man, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi. So Imam Malik is wondering, you're from Andalus, there's no elephants in your country, why don't you go like the rest of your colleagues to look at the elephant? Says, I did not come all this way to look at elephants, I came here to look at you, Imam Malik, and study from your knowledge and study from your good behavior and learn it so that I can go back to my people and teach them what I have learned from you. I came for you, not for the elephant. Imam Malik was very impressed by this young man and called him from that day al-Aqil, the intelligent one. So he's known, this man Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi was known as an intelligent one. So he finished his studies under Imam Malik. He goes to Egypt and studies under the foremost scholar of Egypt at the time, Imam Layth ibn Sa'd al-Fihmi. Inshallah, we shall study all these imams when we get time. Every single imam will give them the right. Imam Layth ibn Sa'd, one of the greats of Islamic history. He had his own madhab. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he says, Al-Layth afqah min Malik. Layth has more knowledge of the fiqh than even Malik. But he did not have any students who will spread his knowledge. So he goes to Imam Layth Sa'd and he studies under him. One day he's holding the horse of Imam Layth. The servant of Imam Layth tries to tell him, no, don't do that. You're a sheikh also, don't do that. No. Layth says, da'u, leave him alone. Then he makes for him dua. He says, khadamak al-ilm. May knowledge serve you. May knowledge serve you. Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi says, Wallahi, I waited for this dua to be answered for many years until I saw it clearly being answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After he studied under Layth ibn Sa'd, he studied also under the scholars of Egypt, Abdullah ibn Wahab and Abdurrahman al-Qasim that we mentioned, the one who went 17 years without seeing his child. He studied under them fiqh and hadith. He benefits from both of them. One is strong in fiqh, one is strong in hadith. For benefit, ikhwani fillah, when it comes to Islamic knowledge, there's always a competition or some healthy competition between the scholars of hadith and the scholars of fiqh. Scholars of hadith are like, these people are just spending time on opinions. The scholars of fiqh are like, you guys are only spending time on hadiths. We are the one who remove the knowledge from hadith. So whenever he used to go, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, to his sheikh, Abdullah ibn Wahab, he says, where are you from? I'm from Abdurrahman al-Qasim. He says, why are you wasting with someone whose entire time is opinions and hypotheses and theories? No, seek the hadith of Prophet alayhi salatu salam. When he goes to Abdurrahman al-Qasim says the same to him. Why are you wasting time with someone who's wasting their life with hadiths that are some are not authentic, some are authentic, some are mansukh, some are abrogated, some are not applied. So there was healthy competition. And he used to say, these two imams are giving me great advice. They are showing me that I should not waste time. He takes the best opinion. He says, the Imam Abdurrahman al-Qasim was telling me not to waste time with hadiths that are weak or da'if or mawdu' or fabricated. Abdullah ibn Wahab at that time tells me not to waste time with fiqh issues that will never occur. You know, if you look sometimes at the book of fiqh, you just laugh. It's so funny how they bring some issues you can't expect it. At that time I remember I was reading, if you're in a boat, then the boat, something happens to the boat, you find yourself with no clothes. Where is the imam supposed to stand in prayer and the ma'mumin? Is it the same line or the imam stands in front of them and everyone behind? So you look at this and you're like, how will such a situation ever happen where the imam and all the musallin have no clothes? Such a funny situation. Then they say, no, you have to pray all of you one line so that your aura does not disturb the other person's aura, khushu. It's interesting how the people make up these theories. So he says, don't waste time with this and this. So he studied under Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. He studied Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi Sa'di, studied under these two imams. He takes 10 books from Abdurrahman al-Qasim that had questions. Abdurrahman al-Qasim had questions for Imam Malik that Imam Malik answered. What is your opinion about this? He answers. So he takes these 10 books. Then he decides, Imam Malik is still alive. Let me go to Hajj. Then I go see him. He confirms the answers that he has given. Perhaps he's changed his opinion. A scholar can have one opinion today, and the next day it changes. And that is nothing to be called hypocrisy. It's just that new evidence has come up, or new situation has come up, or the same factors that were there are not here. So sometimes you find an imam, yesterday he told you haram, and today he's telling you halal. But those two situations, perhaps they're not 100% the same. Are you together? So don't accuse of your imam, your sheikh. Today he says this opinion, then tomorrow he sees that hadith that he applied his opinion upon was not authentic, and he changes. So what's the issue? This imam doesn't know anything. No, you change your opinion and don't care what the people they will say. So he goes to Hajj. He studies under the Imam of Makkah, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Abu Muhammad al-Hilali rahimahullah, one of the great scholars of Makkah who passed away in the year 198 of the Hijri calendar. Then he goes to Medina. When he reaches Medina, he hears unfortunate news. He hears that the Imam Malik bin Anas, he is in Sakarat al-Maut. He is about to die. So he decides to stay in Medina and wait for the Imam to pass away so he can give him his rights of Salatul Janazah. So Imam Malik passed away in the year 179 of the Hijri calendar, and the Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi al-Sa'di is amongst the people who prayed for him the Salatul Janazah. Thereafter he goes back, seeks more knowledge under the scholars of Egypt, and he goes and he enters Andalus ikhwani fillah. When he enters Andalus ikhwani fillah, and the people see the knowledge that this person has carried, the leader makes sure no one is going to be an imam, a khatib, a qadi, a judge, except that they are from the students or they are approved by this Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. So he became the leader of the Muslims when it came to religious affairs. Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, born in the year 152, he passed away in the year 234 of the Hijri calendar. So anytime a person wants to become a qadi, apply to him. With this, ikhwani fillah, the madhab of Imam Malik spread in Andalus. Every person in Andalus started following the madhab or the fiqh of Imam Malik. He's the one who entered the fiqh of Imam Malik into Andalus. He and another scholar called Isa ibn Dinar. They are the two scholars who brought the madhab of Imam Malik. Before it, they were following the madhab of Imam al-Awza'i. Because the Mujahideen who came to conquer Andalus, many of them were from Syria, so they brought the madhab of Abdurrahman al-Awza'i, one of the great scholars of Andalus. So his madhab of Imam Malik spreads in the whole of Andalus. Everyone who wants to become a qadi, they make sure that they become students of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi rahimahullah. One day the leader of the Muslims, Abdurrahman ibn al-Hakam, ibn Hisham ibn Abdurrahman al-Dakhil, that we mentioned before, who's known as Abdurrahman al-Awsat, he decides that there's no one in the entire Andalus that's more worthy to be a qadi than this man, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. So he says that you are going to be the judge, or Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. Ikhwani fillah, the great scholars, many of them, there are two branches, but many of the great scholars, ikhwani fillah, they hate this position called qadi. Many of them, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Sufyan al-Thawri, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, many of them, whenever they're told qadi, you'll find them, they run away from this responsibility. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ mentions in the authentic hadith that the person who is given a qadi is like someone who's been given a knife to stab themselves with it. He says 3 types of qadis, 2 types are in the hellfire, only 1 is in Jannah. So being a judge, a qadi, is not something you go, write my CV, recommendation later, you go look for wasita, someone to intermediate for you. No, it's something to run away, because you're going to be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the judge of judges. So he himself, Yahya, when he's told this, he says, no, I'm not going to be a qadi. You're not going to be a qadi. Let's see if you're that smart. Says to his bodyguard, take him to the mosque and announce to the Muslims in the mosque that your qadi henceforth is Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. When Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi saw there is no way he can run away from this, he says, oh Amir, I have a suggestion for you. These qadis are human beings. I am a human being. If I make a mistake, who's going to correct me as the qadi? Let us do this. All these qadis, if they make a mistake, I will look at their rulings and correct their rulings. So he became the chief of judges, although there was no such official position in the land of Andalus. One of the scholars, Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi rahimahullah, he says that 2 scholars made madhab spread so much. Imam Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, we mentioned, the companion of Abu Hanifa, he made the madhab of Abu Hanifa spread so much because he was the Qadi al-Qudat, he was the chief of the judges, he was the chief justice in the Dawla al-Abbasiyah. And this man also, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, he made the madhab of Imam Malik spread in the land of Andalus, ikhwani fillah. So this guy became very famous. Any alim, any person, student of knowledge, has to be from his students, recognized with him, given a stamp of authority. He was the leader of the believers when it came to knowledge in Andalus. Ikhwani fillah, Hakam ibn Hisham ibn Abdurrahman al-Dakhil, we mentioned previously that his rule initially was not stable until we lost Barcelona, we mentioned previously. There were so many revolutions. From amongst the revolutions, he was oppressing people. He was overtaxing them. He was harming them and doing things that were not proper initially. Although later on, like 2-3 years before he died, in the year 206 or 204 before he died, 2-3 years, he repented. The leader of the Muslims, Al-Hakam ibn Hisham ibn Abdurrahman al-Dakhil. From amongst the events that happened during his time was the revolution of the fuqaha, or the revolution of Rabad. The ulama got fed up with him. Amongst them, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi and his brother, was called, I've forgotten his name, they revolted. And Ikhwani fillah, what we've learned from our entire history of Andalus, from the mistakes that we make as Muslims, even if there's any fasad in society, do not raise your weapons against each other. It brings more fasad than good. But this was the early period of Muslims. They did not yet establish these rules effectively. So they have learned, Muslims from the history, that revolting brings more problems. Be patient with that leader as long as he has not displayed kufr, disbelief that is open. So they rebelled. And they were thoroughly defeated, and many of them were killed. Over 300, 400 were killed. Hakam burns the houses and declares these people wanted. Amongst them is this Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi. It is a trial that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought for him. He goes with his brother to the gate to try escaping. His brother, who was one of the chiefs or the leaders of the fitna, was immediately captured and executed on the spot by the soldiers. He himself was about to be captured, and he ran away, the Imam. He ran away to his tribe of Masmuda. His tribe of Masmuda welcomed him. Then they noticed that he has money hidden in his body. So they decide to give him supper and later on kill him and take all his money. But the Imam is known as Aqil al-Andalus, the intelligent one. He understands people from their actions, from what they say and what they don't say. You know, sometimes you can understand people from what they say, and also sometimes you can understand them from what they don't say. So he understands that these people are plotting against me. He says, let me go to the washroom, I want to relieve myself. So he goes towards the area of the washroom and he sees a horse that's unattended to. He jumps on the horse and runs away to Tulaytila, the city that's in the middle of Andalus that we lost in the year 478 of Hijri calendar, Tulaytila. He goes there and hides until Al-Hakam ibn Hisham ibn Abdurrahman al-Dakhil forgives him, accepts him back to the fold, and he became, Ikhwani fillah, the foremost scholar of the people of Andalus. And every time the people of Maghrib, of Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, they want to read the book of Muwatta Imam Malik, the narration they take it from is the narration of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi. That is the most famous narration for the people of the west of North Africa. They take it from this Imam Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. For the people of the east, they take it from Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. So his sadaqatul jariyah till today is it's present. Ilmun yuntafa'u bi. People who died the year 234, we are currently in the year 1445. 1,200 years ago he passed away, but his sadaqatun jariyah, this book of Imam Malik that's narrated from his narration, his riwayah, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, is still present to today. Khanifillah, also for benefit from the knowledge of hadith, Imam Muslim narrates hadith from Yahya ibn Yahya. This Yahya ibn Yahya that Imam Muslim narrates from is not Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, it is Yahya ibn Yahya al-Naysaburi, and this is from the benefits of studying ilm hadith. Sometimes you can find two people with the same name, but the scholars of hadith, they will differentiate for you. It's very amazing, this ilm hadith. That's why they call it the knowledge that will take your entire life. You study someone, you know, sometimes you people, you get wondering, why does the sheikh every time keep saying so and so died in this year, was born in this year? It's something that you learn when you study the ilm al-hadith. You have to know, for example, if this young boy over here comes and says to us, I heard Ahmed Didat saying the following. Type, how old are you? 12. Ahmed Didat, rahimahullah, if you read his story, 1995, after he came to Kenya, then he went to Australia, he had a stroke, rahimahullah. He could not speak from the year 1995, he was in bed. So if this young boy comes and tells us that he had Ahmed Didat saying so and so and so, we ask him, where did you hear this? Are you together? Because you did not meet Ahmed Didat. He has to say, I had Ahmed Didat in a video saying this and this. So the scholars of hadith, they document everything, where someone was born, where they died, where they traveled to, where they did not travel to, who they met, who they did not meet. So if someone comes and tells us that this hadith is from the hadith of Abu Huraira, and the narrator is someone from Egypt, we tell them, Abu Huraira has never gone to Egypt, and he's never met any Egyptians. Who are you you understand this ilm al-hadith? So, Khanifillah, this is one one of the great scholars of Andalus, the land that you lost, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laithi. Inshallah, tomorrow night we shall look at other scholars. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.